Hello everyone, Brad here today with something a little bit different than usual. I want to talk about my favorite Star Wars story, or book, really. The reason I want to talk about this one specifically is because I feel like it's very underrated. It's one of those that you've never really heard of, just kind of gets forgotten about, and it was one of the earlier ones to be written. Now, with Disney's canon, there's a lot of rewriting of the original stuff, and then there's the original expanded universe, there's a lot of content to. But first of all, I'd like to hear what some of your favorite books are, because I've been reading a lot of them lately, and I want to find more that are worth reading. So it's kind of hard to tell which ones are hit and miss. So if you could let me know which ones you all like, I'd love to hear. But my favorite one, and it may seem funny and the shirt might give it away, is this right here, Lando Calrissian Adventures by L. Neil Smith. Now this is actually a collection of 3 books. They all came out in 1983. You've got the Mine Harp of Sharu, the Flame Wind of Ocean, and the Star Cave of Thonboka. There's a lot of weird pronounced things in here. Now, what makes these stories so interesting is this was back before you had prequel era stuff, and the author had to do a lot of... he had to be really creative with some of the stuff. In the first book, you're going to the Rafta system, which is really interesting, about the story about it. You have these people, some lost civilization that left the planet because they were afraid of something. And Lando is kind of getting swindled in a lot of sabacc. He gets swindled into having to basically find the Mine Harp of Sharu, which supposedly lets you control the mind of everyone in the Rafta system. Very, very good read, very weird read. I'll say that about this. Reading this stuff is kind of like a 1970s Doctor Strange comic. But it works. I think it works really well. And the second one as well, the Ocean system, which is basically an asteroid belt, but they're colonized asteroids. He also gets kind of forced. He gets framed for murder. And because of that, he has to... try and remember what he did with this one. He had to deliver a shipment of drugs. And I'll mention throughout these books, his companion is Vufi Ra. And what's really cool about his droid, Vufi Ra, is that they have a great chemistry between Lando and this droid. You may have noticed some of the things that were canon back then, before Disney bought everything, kind of got disregarded. But what happened after that was they made some of it, they brought it into the actual canon. And if you watch Solo, the movie Solo, they reference this book 3 times. So it's almost makes you believe that everything in this book actually did happen. But that's why I mentioned Vufi Ra, is because L3 is the only thing that doesn't match with this book. He talks about the Sharu people, he talks about being on Ocean playing sabacc, and he talks about the Star Cave. So I thought that was really neat. Little subtle hints. I didn't notice them the first time I watched Solo, but after reading this book and watching Solo, it really added that much more content and makes you believe, even though this is no longer official canon in its legends, that this is something that actually happened in the new canon. The last book here is probably the strangest of them all. There's this large... This race of, they're called Oswath. They're like these flying kind of manta ray things. They're huge, enormous. They think the Millennium Falcon is actually another being, but they talk to him through there. And you have the whole Navy trying to basically take over where the Oswath live, which is the Star Cave, Thonboka. Sorry, I might be pronouncing it wrong. And it really has an epic ending because you have Rorker Gepka, who's a sorcerer of Tund. So if you've seen that anywhere, that's another thing that they've brought into the canon. You always hear the legends of sorcerers of Tund, sorcerers of Tund, and you don't really know what it is. This book will give you a lot of information and background about that story arc. Again, I just wanted to point this one out because it's so unique, easily overlooked, but I think it's a fantastic story. You may think I like Lando, so I'm biased, but I actually liked Lando more because of this book. I always thought he was an interesting character, but this book made me like him a lot more. And I just finished reading Darth Plagueis, which is also a good book, but I honestly think, and you may think I'm crazy, I think this is a little bit better. Or just more enjoyable. It feels more classic Star Wars. Plagueis is way more thought out. a lot more to it. But this just has that good classic Star Wars feel. So I just want to let you know what my favorite book was. And I'd like to hear what you all like to read and what I should read next, because I have a few that I need to get into, but I'd like to know from the audience, who knows a lot more about Star Wars, hopefully, which ones I should go for. So that's going to do it this time. Hope y'all enjoyed it. If you want to see more park vlogs, let me know, or more toy reviews. Everyone seemed to like the lightsaber, so I'll do that too. But as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.